fanboys and fangirls, Jared here with another video from Fanboys Forever. Today I welcome you back to the Batcave for another Spin Master Batman review. It is now 2022, so happy late new year everyone. And we know that this year represents some really interesting developments for the Spin Master Batman line. We know there's going to be a lot of movie product out this year, and I expect that that will dominate most of the shelf space. But before we get into that, I thought it would be good to take a look at some of the comic book inspired figures today. We have the Batgirl figure, which I finally found at my local Walmart, and what would almost be considered a miracle sighting to me because I did not think I would ever find her, and finally it happened. And we have the all-new Batwing figure. Now, I can't wait to take a look at both of these with you today. Of course, let me know down below if you enjoyed the new intro with the journey into the Batcave and all of that. I thought that was pretty fun. So let's go ahead and take a look at these two brand new Spin Master Batman figures. The first one we'll be taking a look at today is Batgirl, since she was the first one to be released out of the two. Let's go ahead and have a look at the packaging. On the back, you can see the other figures from this wave, and I have been able to acquire all of these. Batgirl was actually the very last one from the series that I needed. As is tradition with these reviews, we will also be checking out what are in the mystery boxes. For box number one, looks like we get one of these speckled, transparent blue batarangs. And like I've always said, these seem like they go more with a Mr. Freeze theme. For box number two, there's nothing. As usual, like I talk about, a lot of the time, box number one or two falls down to the next box. So, for box number three, a sword, for all the times you see Batgirl with what? A giant transparent blue katana. And we get a grappling gun. Now, I feel like that I have seen all of these weapons before in previous releases, although they could just be really similar, so who knows. Included with the figure is this cool little mini poster, and on the back, a little guide to all of the different figures you can get in the series, including all the different accessory loadouts and all of that. And out of the packaging, here we have Barbara Gordon. Of course, Barbara is a character that we have been looking forward to getting for quite some time in the Spin Master line. Let's begin by looking at the sculpt and the paint. As you can see, Batgirl here looks very accurate to mostly what we've seen in her comic book appearances the last few years. This is kind of more reminiscent of that Batgirl of Burnside kind of look, where she was in the more 60s kind of inspired outfit from the Batman TV show. And I'm actually really glad that they revisited this in the comics and subsequent merchandise, because I've always thought the yellow and purple look was a great one for Batgirl, and honestly, that was the way I was introduced to the character, was on the old Adam West show. Looking at the figure's detail, I'll start with the head. They, of course, have done the cowl very accurately to what we see in the comics. I'm glad they opted to go with black instead of purple here, because it gives the illusion of there being some shading and shadow maybe on the cowl, and the rest of the figure doing kind of the bright purple thing. So I actually think that's a good decision. I will say that the eyes on mine are pretty good. I mean, overall, I think that it's pretty decent. I say that because I have seen examples online where the eyes are just atrocious. And it's a shame, but you know, that's with a huge mass market toy line that's in 3 3/4 scale, you know that the paint hits aren't going to be exactly right. But I was very lucky to do as good as I did since this was the only one I saw at my local Walmart. Moving on down, we have kind of one of the big sticking points for a lot of collectors about this figure, but they opted to include all those little techie details, kind of like the second version of Batwoman here, and we'll get more into comparisons later. You can see all that blue stuff they've added. Well, they've done the same for Batgirl here. They've done this because, of course, that's kind of the theme, the Tron sort of techie bits. That's kind of a part of their Bat Tech line look. And I actually don't mind this very much, and it's because I'm pretty sure that eventually the Spin Master does variants of everything. And eventually they'll release the one that doesn't have this. It'll be a little more traditional. I'm pretty sure that that will happen, just given enough time. I have seen people attempt to acetone off these details with mixed results, sometimes damaging a little bit of the plastic in the process. So I can't necessarily suggest you do that. Plus, you may end up accidentally harming some of the yellow paint applications and things of that nature. So I don't think that's a grand idea. Plus, I just think it's kind of cool. It's kind of like those added little details that you see on movie superhero costumes. I really don't mind it, and it's not something that bothers me because I know that Spin Master is going to be doing more of these. And plus, for $8 a piece, I mean, come on, you might as well get the different variations, and it will be all right. Moving on down, you can see that besides the chest armor, really cool utility belt. And I like how atypical it is because it's kind of slanted and you got pouches on one side and you just have the regular kind of belt loops on the other. Moving around to the back, you can see the rest of the body armor. And you can also see the trunks here, which has some cool techie details as well. The belt is of course painted all the way around, so you can't always count on that in modern action figures. You also have, in a kind of nod to Dark Knight Returns a little bit, Batgirl has a thigh belt as well. So I really like that, and I love how it's sculpted. So I'm really liking the kind of belt distribution they gave her. Also, she has these cool knee pads mounted to the tops of her boots, and lots of cool little details and little pop-outs there on the front. Looking at the gloves, you can see that there's all sorts of cool little techie details and little bits there. And I think that's really nice, including the gloves. It's like this Batgirl isn't just wearing like a spandex suit, she's actually armored up. I think this is one of the better sculpts that they've done in the line, and it's definitely not something you would have seen in Spin Master's first year, a Batman product. So I think they've really come a long way when it comes to their sculpting quality. And I think all the paint hits work really well, even if those techie little bits are a little controversial, shall we say. All right, looking at articulation, we might as well take a deep dive on that. The head can turn, but it doesn't turn a whole big lot because of the hair. Also, it feels sort of stuck, so it's something that I would probably want to heat up before kind of working it all the way around or anything. But you probably could work it all the way around because of the hair being a little flexible, so you can see that it kind of just bends over the shoulder. She does have your typical shoulder hinge, and it's a great one. Spin Master figures do a great job with that shoulder motion. They don't just stop at a 90-degree angle, they go far beyond, all the way around. There is a single joint at the elbow, but it's actually a really good one, pretty much getting 90 degrees if you push it. So I have no problem with that. You can also see that there is a swivel at the elbow, and there's nothing at the wrist, unfortunately. But there is nothing at the waist. But still, I think that, they work fine without it. But it would be nice to see them add it maybe in the coming year or two. Moving on down, we have the hip articulation here. And since Barbara is a gymnast, it would follow that she's able to do the splits. And of course, Spin Master figures never really have much trouble accomplishing that, so that works really well. You can also see she does have a thigh swivel. Moving up, she does a very good kick that's a little over 90 degrees, which I would really hope for in a Batgirl figure since she's supposed to be so acrobatic. You can also see at the knee, she does have a swivel, and she does have a single joint, which actually goes beyond 90 degrees, just slightly. So I think that's pretty effective. There is nothing at the ankles as we've come to expect. However, I will say they eliminate the articulation at the wrists and they eliminate it at the ankles. And what are the 2 points that usually break on 3 3/4 figures? It's those points. So I don't know if that's the exact reason or not, but I will say that it does eliminate a whole lot of breakage concerns with these guys. And of course, I know it's cost saving for them, but still, that is something that I think does kind of help the durability with younger fans. I don't think any of these are anything to necessarily write home about. To me, this would have only looked appropriate had Batgirl been in some kind of cold weather gear or something like that, because this looks like a frozen grappling gun. However, as we all know, there is only, about 1 billion different accessories that we've collected through getting the Spin Master line. So if this isn't your first Spin Master Batman figure, you have a wide variety of even this exact grapple gun to choose from. For example, without much effort at all, I looked over and found a gold variant of the exact same sculpt, and it looks much better. Not only that, I think I have a green version, I may even have a red version, so there's many different versions of this I could use. Let's start with the most obvious comparison first, and that would be the multi-pack version from the Target exclusive Bat-Tech kind of family pack that they did. I think these look great together. I think this is pretty representative of the original Batman the Animated Series colors, and this is more representative of the 60s Batman show and the Batgirl of Burnside story from the comics. And it's obvious with them standing side by side that they're the exact same sculpt. But if you know me on the channel, I love to have every version of these characters. They're so cheap and fun to collect that, why not? Joining the female Bat-Tech family here, we've got Batwoman, and you can see that they work together very well. An interesting point is that even though I thought there would be a tremendous amount of reuse between Batgirl and Batwoman, that is just not the case. They use completely different sculpts for every single area. I thought at the very least that things like some of the arms or some of the legs would be reused, and that just didn't happen. They're completely unique sculpts, and I really appreciate Spin Master going to the trouble of tooling completely different bodies for the two characters. They could have easily done a head swap, did some different paint applications, and called it a day, but they didn't stop at that, and that's going the extra mile. And if you'd like to see a more techie version of the entire Bat family assembled, so I think they look really good together. There's only about, I don't know, a million different techie Batmans that you can put that have come out with this line. This one is probably my current favorite one when it comes to the variants. Overall, I believe Batgirl is an excellent new addition to the Spin Master line of Batman products. The only big criticisms that I have is that I think that the techie details will be a little much for some people, since this is the first way that you can own her. Even the secondary way you can own her in the Target pack has those same techie details, so there's almost no escaping it. But an even bigger concern for me was just how hard it was to find this figure. It literally took me 3 months to track one of these down, and then it seemed to just be random and completely by chance that I just found one that was hanging on the pegs at Walmart. This is the first time I've ever really struggled to find a particular Spin Master Batman figure. I know that some of you in the comments always tell me that you're struggling to find certain ones, and so I know that others have actually struggled already, but I had never had as much difficulty finding one as I did with this Batgirl. She must have been one to very, very large cases of figures, even cases that would have multiple Nightwings and multiple Robins, and other figures that you would think would also be kind of short-packed. Batgirl was definitely the one that only had one per case, and I felt like I was always just missing her. So this is kind of concerning. I know that the research says that female figures a lot of times for a boys action line don't get bought quite as much, and I totally understand that they're making less, but for collectors it makes it kind of nightmarish to track these down. So hopefully Spin Master will consider at least making sure that in a case pack that in the future there's at least 2 of these characters, except for of course the super rare, which I understand they want to kind of keep as a chase, but still. Great figure, and she goes great with the rest of the Bat Tech family. Next up, of course, we'll be taking a look at the brand new Batwing. We're going to first have a look at the packaging. Everything on the front is exactly as you would expect it to be. On the back, you can see the other figures in the As of This Recording news series. I have been able to find all of these except for the super rare Robin, so I do hope I run into him soon. And we'll go ahead and have a look inside the mystery box. For box number 1, looks like we get this really cool battering ram bola thingy. Not really sure, but I always like to see these, and this is done in that kind of metallic-y blue. Box number 2, we get one of the giant shields that come apart into the 2 blades. Now, this has been a big part of the line ever since the very first wave, so it's funny to keep getting these even all this time later. And lastly, for box number 3, we have one of those giant batarangs, but this time it's in the much more pleasing metallic blue color. All right, let's go ahead and get Mr. Fox out of the box. For the latest wave of Batman product, I was really glad to see them return to the original poster design that they had first packed in those first waves. I think it's much better than the one that they were giving out afterwards, and so I think this one really does the job. On the back, you can see some of the new additions to the line with this wave. I've actually found all of these except a couple. You can see that there's this new Harley Quinn. I've not found it. It seems to be that it's going to be another Batgirl situation where it's just extremely difficult to find. Also, I've not found the super rare Robin, probably just one to a case. It's a really neat design though. I like it. It seems kind of devious, a little darker than the things they usually do. And lastly, I do not believe that I have found this new Bat-Tech Batman. He's using the new sculpt that they developed for just a couple of waves back, only he's in transparent blue, so hopefully I can get a hold of all of these guys pretty soon. And here is the new Batwing figure out of the box, so let's take a look. I really enjoy the new Batwing character in the comics. He's still relatively new because of his ties to Lucius Fox, who is, of course, been a staple of the Batman mythos for many years. It's also a great way to bring kind of a techier side of Batman to light, while also doing some great representation, and it's always great to get some diversity in the Bat family, so he is very welcome in my opinion, and also just a cool character. I do think the character has a presence on the Batwoman series on the CW, but I don't really watch that show, So I don't know, maybe it's really cool on there. I'm not really sure. I do know the costume is a little different on there, but it's fairly similar. So looking at the sculpt and the paint work, you can see that they've done a really good job sculpting the mouth and also the cool, more Owlman-like cowl. It's sort of Wolverine-esque. So I really like that. Moving on down, you can see he has a giant blue bat symbol. So he's really the perfect character to introduce in the Bat Tech line. And you can see they didn't even add any kind of like extra techie details or decals or anything like that because he really doesn't need it to be a part of the theme. I also really appreciate these little bits of padding and armor and a really cool belt right there in the front. I'm liking the bat head on the belt buckle. Moving on over to the side, you can see that he has some armor on the thighs and also some cool knee pads. Even the boots have that same kind of gray armor pattern, that motif that's carried all the way down. Moving on to the back, you can see the backs of the wings and that armor is around the neck. But what's cool is not only can you adjust the wings like this, but you can take them right out. And so I think the belt looks neat as well, going all the way around, and you can just have him like this. I think in the comics the wings are retractable, so it makes sense that you should be able to remove them. What's cool about this is that you can take these wings then, and because all Batman figures in the Spin Master line have these universal ports on the back, you can then take these wings and add them to practically any Batman figure that's been released since the very beginning of the line, and they look really cool. I'm really hoping that Spin Master finds a way to keep utilizing these, especially with some Batman figures. I think they would look really nice in red with a Batman Beyond figure, and I think we all hope that they eventually go into that territory. All right, let's look at the articulation. This is exactly what you would expect, with the head just going left and right, the arms hinging way up, and I think that those work really well. You can get it to a little bit more, but I'm not going to push it. You can see that at the elbow you do have a single hinge, but you can flex it to where you can pretty well get 90 degrees. There is a rotation there. You can put the arm all the way around. There's nothing at the waist, which is unfortunate. Moving up on the legs can get you a really nice kick. You can also do the splits really easily. You can get a cut right there at the thigh. You get a rotation at the knee. You do get a single hinge at the leg there, and I think that does pretty well. And there's nothing at the ankles as usual. I think overall the articulation is nice, but it's exactly what we've come to expect from the line at this point. Nothing above and beyond the Call of Duty or anything like that, but still, I think he works really well. There's also one additional little articulation point in the back, so you can actually have the wings do all kinds of crazy stuff. You can even put them upside down if you want. Sure, why not, right? So I think it works really well. Batwing here actually comes with some really cool accessories. Even though they're all accessories we have seen before, especially in terms of sculpting, I think that because they're done in that cool kind of metallic-y blue, that they actually look really nice, especially compared to Batgirl's accessories with that weird speckling effect that never turns out very well, in my opinion. And they have the good fortune of actually matching the character, so it looks completely natural with him holding the accessory there. Same for this, and the same for his cool shield accessory. Don't forget, you can even split the shield apart, just like those original first wave Batman figures that Spin Master did. And pretty soon you've got Murderous Butcher Batman. Usually I'm harping on the accessories on these guys, but I actually think his turned out really cool, and I could actually see myself using these. So yeah, it's kind of a win for Spin Master on that one. In terms of scale, Batwing works very well with your pre-existing Spin Master library of characters, so he's a fine addition. Overall, these are both definite pickups. The Batgirl, if you can find her, Batwing has been a little easier for me to find in stores, but it wouldn't surprise me if Batwing was slightly underpacked as well compared to all the other Batman variants. Of course, very soon here on the channel, we'll probably be transitioning to the Batman movie figures from Spin Master. We know that that's going to be a big focus for them coming up in 2022. And by the looks of things, they should be hitting the shelves at any time. I don't know if that's at the end of January or maybe in the middle of January, but I think that we could be seeing them very, very quickly. Of course, be sure to subscribe to the channel. That way you don't miss out on any of my upcoming Batman reviews. Don't forget, I reviewed this Batcave that's in the background, and that's definitely a video you'll want to check out because I think it's a lot of fun, and I think you're going to enjoy seeing all the different crazy features in the Batcave. Also, make sure you like the video if you feel that we deserve it. Of course, share the review with Spin Master on some of their socials so that they can see what we're doing here on the channel. And let me know down below what you think of these guys. Were you able to add them to your collection? Have you already found the Harley Quinn or maybe some of the other figures like the Super Rare Robin? And give me your thoughts on those as well. Let me know what you would like to see next here on Fanboys Forever. Alright friends, As always, God bless you and yours, and I'll see you on Fanboys Forever. Fanboy out.